Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah. A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak. So, nowadays, that we've gotten a hold of ourselves with such things out there that relate to music. In terms of how we store music though, it pretty much just all depends on your style, based on what you seem to find the best possible way just to have every song of yours kept together in one place. Mainly, I'm starting off with the records. Now, records themselves have been a huge thing out there for more than 60 years. But up until the mid-80s, we've had ourselves the cassette, which became super popular within just 10 years. Being that they were first introduced by the mid-70s, but of course they managed to really find their sense of popularity during the mid to late 80s. And eventually, during the start of the 90s, we've gotten ourselves a hold of the CD. And the CD happened to show a lot more capabilities and characteristics that the cassette or the record could hardly handle at once. The CDs would allow us to skip songs, repeat them, or shuffle. Those are basically capabilities that the CD could inhibit, but not the cassette or the record. Mainly because they had to use something around that would be able to play them all at once. But in terms of how the record worked, it was as simple as putting a needle on it and letting the whole thing play. Then eventually taking off the needle and probably playing it again or putting something else in. The cassette would work by simply opening up the door that would allow a cassette tape to be pushed right in, closing the door, and then pressing the play button. With the CD, however, it works somewhat different. Because instead of using some things like tape or vinyl, the CD itself would use laser scanning plastic. And the plastic, of course, would be used on all the CDs and discs that we commonly know about. But mainly, I'm speaking of the type of CDs that we've known about since the dawn of time itself. The CDs themselves were able to be scanned by lasers. And the lasers would automatically play anything that would have been scanned. And in terms of how they can be used to repeat, shuffle, or skip any songs of which that you do not want to have on at the moment, it's still quite a big level of capabilities. But when you compare the CD to programs like today, in terms of how you can store music on certain libraries of yours, like on iTunes or Google Play, or with how you can actually go and purchase songs online with digital copies rather than physical discs, or something out there that could probably be damaged in process. But how it used to work is that we've always had to use CDs basically just to listen to music. CD players sometimes became a bit bulky at some point. Some were ultra portable and could be carried around simply by just using it with your hand or by having a belt clip onto it. But that we see nowadays in comparison to such items like the iPod or the Zune, we could really have a lot more capabilities taken into effect compared to the CD. The CD itself had a pretty big generation ahead of it. DVDs also had themselves a pretty big generation as well. Even to this day, DVDs became a really big thing. But CDs, though, ones that could play files that are MP3 or AVI types, in fact, they would not be around for too long. Because by today, we could have so many people out there focusing on using more of their iPods or their smartphones or some other kind of device that would be able to store digital copies of some music on any of those devices of whatever sort they may be. And the CDs, of course, some people still use them, but not everybody, though. I do remember the last time I used a CD, and that was around 2006. It had been that long since the last time I ever had a CD player of some sort and a CD to be able to put into it and play a song of mine that I liked. But now, since I have things in my life like the Zune or the iPod, I'm really able to put even more music on there than I could probably imagine. Depending on the capacity, though. And I feel like, though, that the CDs, well, they could have stuck around a bit longer, but we just had to progress through technology to the fullest extent that we could probably bring out to the public. And I feel like, though, that the CD had itself a pretty darn good cult following that since it was first introduced to the public, to the world itself. So now, I mean, the CDs itself are still alright, but you could still expect to have things like them breaking or cracking or getting scratched, compared to an iPod, where songs themselves won't become distorted and the like unless they're recorded improperly or something like that. But again, CDs probably would have a lot more physical trauma in them compared to any song from iTunes, or any kind of, well, digital copy that you could probably own, have it stored on a computer or a mobile device, whatever it may be. But now, that's pretty much just all about the CD that I've got. And now, there's going to be a lot more things out there that are going to be around here to come. But if you want to see more go down on my channel, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.